Wow. Always something. Always something in this crazy city. Man. The absolute madness that is Times Square. I didn't even know what I was going to talk about in this ride. I was thinking about just keeping it silent. But then a naked 80-year-old woman shows up and throws a wrench into the whole plan. So I'm just commuting home right now. I'm on 7th Avenue heading south. I was thinking about maybe talking about whiskey or just spirits in general. So another one of my my passions is booze. Appreciation for imbibing of booze. In particular, I like whiskey, Scotch whiskey, Irish, bourbon, rye, all types. Even some of the Japanese whiskeys I like. Not all. Some of them are a little bit overhyped. But I mean, I guess it makes sense to talk about Scotch first and foremost, kind of like the granddaddy of whiskey, and the regions thereof. So, I mean, the most common for me, my favorite region is Islay, which is spelled I-S-L-A-Y, and it's the region of islands, and they're known for their smoky flavored, peat smoked whiskeys. A little bit medicinal in flavor and odor. That's not the greatest word when you're trying to like sell people on the flavor of it, but there's almost an iodine type quality to it. It's an acquired taste for sure. It smells like baseball glove leather. I like to pair it with a pipe or a cigar. They just go nicely. Then there's Highlands, Lowlands, both of which are nice. They're a little bit milder. You get some woody flavors, some dried fruit flavors, vanillas, caramels. Those are really nice. I like a Glenlivet 21. I like a Macallan 18. Those are a little pricey, but they're worth it. They're good. It's a little crowded right now. So, yeah, so Scotch is nice. I usually stick to the Islay region. Irish whiskeys are in a similar tradition. They're very good. They're all over the map in terms of flavors. They have a little bit of a different rules for colorings and additives. Like, as far as I understand, Scotch, you're not allowed to add coloring. But I think in other areas you can. Like, so I think for bourbons, I think you can add coloring. But with Scotch, most of the color actually all of the color is coming from the wood in the aging process. Some of my favorite Scotches, holy shit, what an asshole. Some of my favorite Scotches, you know, like for introducing someone to the Scotch world, I would say get the Balvenie Doublewood. I think they still make that. They age it in two different types of wood, and one of them is like a sherry wine cask, and so it imparts like some really nice fruity flavors. you know, like raisin and, you know, like seasoned oak. Really nice. That one's a little more price friendly too. Like the other ones I was saying before are over $100. But you know, if you're looking for under 100, you want to try something that's not too aggressive on the palate, go with Balvenie. And if you want something that's an Isla, that's a balanced Isla, get a Lagavulin 16. That's usually under 100 as well. Let's see, for Irish whiskeys, I recommend Redbreast. Redbreast is probably my favorite of the Irish whiskeys. Also really like the Yellow Spot, Green Spot, Red Spot. I can't remember which ones I haven't tasted. I know there's one color Spot that I haven't tasted. But those are really good quality. And then before we get into American whiskeys like bourbon and rye, you might see whiskey spelled two different ways. Whiskey with an EY and whiskey without an E, just whiskey with a Y. The general rule of thumb, and this isn't, you know, this isn't hard fast. The general rule of thumb is that if the country has an E in the spelling of the country's name, then you spell whiskey with the E. So Ireland has an E, Scotland does not. So whiskey with an EY for Ireland, whiskey with just a Y for Scotland. It goes the same, it works for Canada, it works for Japan, it works for America. However, there are some places that there are some places that that don't follow that rule. Actually, I can't remember if Canada does follow the rule or not. I gotta check. But the point is, if they're making the whiskey in the Scotch tradition, then they leave the E off. And if they're making it in the Irish tradition, then they leave the E on. But like I said, the rule of thumb, it usually works out that the countries don't have the letter E when they spell it with just the Y. So it kind of works out. So that's that. So whiskey with an EY. American whiskey with an EY. Most of what we're producing here is corn-based bourbon, 51% or more corn. Stands to reason that rye is 51 or more % rye. You'll see a lot of places do mixed grain or 4 grain, for example. 4 grain distillery here in the city, Great Jones Distillery. They have a bourbon, they have a rye, which is 100% rye, and they also have a 4 grain, which, you know, the mash bill is mixed. It's not 51% corn or 51% rye. And the 4 grains are corn, rye, wheat, and barley. Nobody's looking today. Holy shit, man. I gotta do a lot of bleeping because I'm cursing like crazy in this one. Morons on the road today. All right, so some of my favorite American whiskeys. Garrison Brothers, I believe they're out of Texas. That's a great one. Michter's, all of their stuff is really good. I like Great Jones here in the city, really growing on it. I usually don't love New York whiskeys, but that one I do. And for something a little outside the box, there's this whiskey that's made in a Scotch tradition, meaning they use smoked grain. So instead of smoking barley like what is done in Scotland in the Islay tradition, they smoke mesquite wood because that's what's all over the area by them. I think they're in Arizona maybe, or New Mexico or something like that. They smoke the mesquite wood And that infuses the grains with flavor, a really nice flavor. Honestly, you know, that's why everyone loves barbecue, because it's wood smoked food. And, you know, that's really what it tastes like to me. It tastes like if barbecue and whiskey had babies together. It's like liquid barbecue. It's not for everyone, because sometimes you get like a cactusy kind of flavor to it, or, you know, like there's a strange flavor to it, but I really love it. You know, for me, it's super unique, and it's just a great whiskey. Worth trying. But, you know, this country has so many great whiskeys. I mean, if you talk to someone about bourbon, they're gonna go bonkers, and they're gonna talk about Pappy, they're gonna talk about all these expensive allocated brands. For me, you know, if I could spend under $200 on something, under $100 on something, and really enjoy it, for me, that's worth it. Anything over that, I feel weird drinking it. You know, like my friend George always says, you know, when I say, oh, I gotta save this one for a special occasion, he always says, no, the special occasion is when you open it. And that's a great point. And that's why he drinks his whiskey, you know, and that's why other people don't, because they don't get that. They save it, they hang on to it. I hang on to a few because my wife loves them. Cake Dealer loves Orphan Barrel. The guy behind me was ready to go around me, but I was turning left. I guess that's why it helps to have a signal. Got to use my hand signals. Anyway, I was saying Orphan Barrel, the Orphan Barrel series, were great. They're, you know, pretty much out of production except for a few things lingering here and there. And the older stuff is generally better than the newer stuff. But we really like those. So if we ever get a chance to find some at a reasonable price, excuse me, we will buy two, one to drink and one to hang on to. And so that's what we've been doing. Japanese whiskeys, I think, are for the most part highly overrated. There's like, for example, everyone goes crazy for the Yamazaki. And when I first had it, I didn't think it was anything special. And that was early on, you know, when they were first really getting popular here in the States. But more recently, the bottles have been better. My favorite Japanese whiskeys, I got two really. One is kind of a middle of the road price range. The Nikka Coffee Still. They make a few different varieties. They're all pretty good. The coffee still is not coffee flavored. It's named after the guy who created the still, the copper still. It's a different type than what's normally used. So I like that, and I also like Akashi White Oak. That one is cheap. That one you could probably get for like $40. It's got a lot of nice, mild flavors, but relatively still complex. Caramelly, obviously oaky, white oak. And then a few lingering favorites that I didn't get to mention. You know, obviously, like I said, my favorite are scotches from the Isla region. I love Ardbeg. Their 10-year is great. Their Corey Vrecken is excellent. A little bit, you know, that one's over $100 bucks. Ardbeg 10 you could probably get for like 70. I mentioned Lagavulin. I mentioned actually no, I didn't mention Lafroig. Lafroig is excellent, and that one's around $50. They make a Wee Beastie 5-year. They make a 10-year. They make a few different varieties that are, you know, quarter cask or different year age statements. They're all very good. Again, it's an acquired taste. If you're going to jump right into it, good luck to you. I think, you know, if you're bold and you have a a palate, you know, that's a little bit experienced with whiskey, you probably like it. But that's it. That's my rundown on whiskey, because my commute's over. So thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. Tell your friends. Tell your fucking grandma.